Joining us right now is Stephanie Lundquist-Arora. She, of course, the head of the Fairfax chapter of the Independent Women's Network, and she's been trying to stay on top of Fairfax County Public Schools as much as possible. But boy, it's fast and furious over there, Stephanie. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Larry, Julie. Thanks for having me.
There's much to touch on, but I'd love for you to first begin with this idea of students being punished for wrongthink. This sounds very Orwellian. What's happening?
Yes, it's awful. At the end of February, Fairfax County Public Schools administered what's called the Student Experience Survey to its high school students, supposedly just to understand how students view and experience the school, and they claim it so that they can make improvements. And they promise on the website that this survey is going to be and I'm going to quote from the website, actually. Remember, survey responses will be collected confidentially.
Wow.
Only aggregate student responses will be included in the reports. So a very smart and courageous student, let's call him Adam, he took the survey thinking it was going to be confidential. And under the health and wellness section of the survey, he identified district leadership and policies as a source of stress. Specifically, he mentioned things like the Hayfield football scandal and the decisions made with that, the district's pro-illegal immigration policy, and its failure to follow President Trump's executive orders on things such as DEI and gender. Mm-hmm. About a week after he took the survey, a counselor called him out of his history class.
Oh, here we
and
go.
In her hand, she held the responses to his survey. She had them all just in the hall, very publicly.
The confidential,
right in front of her.
the confidential responses in the confidential survey.
Yes. And can you imagine, even as an adult, if your boss was like, hey, take this survey on the workplace, it's going to be confidential, and then your boss, as an adult, is standing outside your office with your survey responses, like, this would be really hard to deal with, even as an adult. You'd be like, I thought it's such a breach of trust and confidentiality. Like, they told you it was going to be confidential. So she asked him, she wanted to press him for more information. And this is in the hallway. She's pressing him. Like, what did you mean by this? What did you mean by the executive orders? Why is it causing you stress? Not even in her office, just in the hallway. So obviously, this particular student is, as I mentioned, incredibly smart. And so he had a good relationship with his parents. So he went home and he's like, the strangest thing happened to me today. And can you now, and by the way, Larry, congratulations on your new son-in-law. I know you guys are both parents. Can you imagine if your kid came home and said, I took this confidential survey and then got grilled about it from a counselor or a teacher or an administrator in the hallway? Like, can you imagine how, as a parent, you would feel?
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete and total violation.
And Stephanie, this gets worse, though, because he was flagged by the high school as a mental health risk, correct?
Yes. So he had no idea. As a student, he's just experiencing this at the student level. So when he told his parents, really involved great parents, called the school and they were like, what is happening? Why did you do this? Like, if obviously this is a real bad situation for a kid to be in. And the school said, oh, well, yes, well, it was supposed to be confidential, but we do flag some surveys in case the student is a harm to himself or to others. And so Adam's mother was like, well, what are you thinking my son is, a harm to himself or a harm to others? And they said, oh, well, the district decided and labeled him as a harm to himself. And so then the mother asked, she's like, let me just I just want to clarify this. You labeled him a harm to himself because he doesn't like district policies. And then you decided to not tell us about it. Like, you actually labeled him a harm to himself. And then you don't notify the parents that he might be a harm to himself and that you're pulling him out into the hallway to discuss this survey.
This is unbelievable.
So it's crazy. And let me tell you, as I was kind of working through this story and talking to Adam and his mother, I also was like, well, let me just see where the school district stands on this. So I requested comment, and this is all in iwfeatures.com if you're interested in reading the original story. I asked, obviously they can't release information about the student or his survey. So I was like, what's the district's policy with regard to flagging students' answers to surveys that are supposed to be collected confidentially? Like, I was asking, like, what's the policy here? And is it policy to label students who criticize the district's policies as like a threat to themselves or others?
And what was their answer?
They didn't say anything. They didn't respond to me. So first, the media relations office didn't respond to me. And then I sent another one after the report was published to the school board members. And I was like, what do you have to say for yourselves about this? And here's the report. Like, do you have any defense? And of course, they didn't respond. But really, in their defense, what could they say? We're upset you caught us again?
So Stephanie, there's been no response from Fairfax. Have they removed this flag from his file?
Well, I was just talking to his mother about that, and I think that when this happens, and this is for all viewers and any conservative kids or really anybody with a student in public schools, you need to be really vigilant, probably opt them out of everything. Don't let them take a survey because obviously these things aren't as people say. They're collecting data on your kids. But it's really unclear. So there's a law called FERPA. And I was talking to his mother about it, and I said, well, it's time to do a FERPA request and make sure that he's not still flagged.
Yeah.
So
she's going to have to go through that process. Listen, this again has been featured over at IW. Give the email again because they do great work over there. Well, I work there too, so they do great work over there. But give that information, Stephanie.
Yes. So it's iwfeatures.com, and you can read a lot of great stories on there.
Well, that's just one story. There's another story I want to talk to you about here, and that has to do with the dropout problem among students in Fairfax County. It's one specific kind of student or category of students. Do you have time to stick with us for another segment?
Oh, I sure do.
All right, cool. More on Fairfax County Public Schools here in just a moment with Stephanie. Please keep it here at 6:44.
Making sense of your world.
Thank you for your clear insight.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
This is a major wake-up call.
Making sense of the news. WMAL's Vince Colonnese. Weekdays at noon on 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news.
We only have a couple of minutes to get to this, but we're focusing on Fairfax County Public School problems. We've got Stephanie Lundquist-Arora, who's become sort of an accidental expert on that as an activist and the chapter leader for Fairfax County for Independent Women's Network. And your op-ed in Washington Times focuses on surprisingly high dropout rates right now, specifically for what's called English learners or multilingual learners. By the way, the budgets are exploding right now because these school systems are legally mandated to accommodate so many children who have been brought here from foreign nations, many of them illegally in the country, and they don't speak English. So you've got to hire all of these translators, all of these teachers who are well-versed in all languages. And despite all of that money, Stephanie, we've got a huge crisis here, don't we?
Yeah, we really do. The number of the English language learning students has really grown since the inception of the county's sanctuary policy. It's affected the schools adversely, and some more than others. You can see that they're concentrated in certain schools. And you can look at as you mentioned in the op-ed in the Washington Times, you can look at kind of which schools have the most English language learners, and they happen to have, it's affecting their dropout rates because in the 9 most problematic schools in terms of like their dropout rates, like Herndon High School, for example, had in 2024, and this is according to Virginia Department of Education data, had a more than 8% dropout rate. And out of the dropouts, there were 43 dropouts, and 40 of them were English as a second language students.
Wow.
Just as one example.
Yeah.
So you're seeing there's a huge disparity in high schools where Herndon, even though it has more than an 8% dropout rate, you look at, for example, neighboring Langley High School, and it has a 0.2% dropout rate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie, you have been following Fairfax County schools. I mean, your kids are in Fairfax County schools, and you are a relentless activist on this. Do you sometimes, just a quick question, do you sometimes feel it's overwhelming? I mean, I see all of the work that you do to follow these issues. I'm really amazed that you keep at it because it really is, it's never ending. Does it kind of get you down sometimes?
It does. I mean, it does feel overwhelming, but at the same time, I feel like I'm, like you said, an accidental expert. Like I feel like I've been I've been put here at this time and in this place, and a lot of people reach out to me, and it's kind of there's a community surrounding it, like a nice community of people who actually want to make the school better, not just be like, give it more money, but people who are like, let's improve education. Let's actually see what's happening in these public schools. And even though schools, I really am a huge advocate for school choice, and I think ultimately all roads should end there, but also there's going to be a lot of people in public education. So let's all work together and make it better. So in that way, I feel like it's inspiring to be part of
Lord
the
knows every
community.
time there's a school board election, we spend an inordinate amount of time on the candidates and on the issues, and we try our best. It feels like we're sort of, trying to scoop the beach into a bucket of, I don't know, using a teaspoon. I can't find the right metaphor, but it is you're fighting against the tide. So the best we can do is what we keep doing, Stephanie, which is draw attention to it, focus on it, tell the voters what's going on, and then let the elections fall where they may. And that's the best we can do, and you help us with this. So thank you very much for your work.
And thanks for WMAL for always shining the light on it.
Thank you. It's 6:53.
Making sense of your world.
Thanks for taking my call.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Greatly appreciated.
Making sense of the news.